I'll now open up the Town Council work session, Tuesday, July 29, 2025, at 4:00 p.m., held in the council chamber at 150 East Monroe Street. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Did you say approval of the agenda? Madam Mayor, I would like to amend the agenda to have a closed meeting pursuant State Statute 22-3711A of the Code of Virginia, discussion regarding the town manager position.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Right here, none. Be roll call vote. Start Mr. Hand.
Aye.
Patterson, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Thank you. So first on the agenda is Night Scoop Incorporated presentation regarding blue light towers.
Hey there, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Cross.
Make sure I can open this up. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect. My volume's down a little bit. So I could definitely get started. I just wanted to, start off with an introduction. I was actually going to ask if it can be recorded, but I did mention that in the beginning, so sounds like we're good there. Did you want me to kind of start off with an intro of what we've spoke about so far, or?
Yes,
sir, that would be
please.
good.
Okay, perfect. And then I'll kind of dive into the actual PowerPoint. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen just so we can get that out of the way. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. We'll kind of start off with where we left off, and then I'll kind of dive into the details. It shouldn't take too long. Were you able to get some of the printouts by any chance, or the documents that could be printed out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, just wanted to kind of pick up where we left off, so I appreciate the time today. My name is Noah Cross with Nightscope. I'm based in Connecticut, but service, Virginia and North. And basically, we've done a lot of different work throughout Virginia and many other places that I can dive into with our blue light phones, and towers. So they're emergency communication devices. And I know we've spoke with a few different folks from the town and the community about where these might be added. So I don't know, I don't have exact locations that were mentioned yet, but this should serve as kind of a purpose to kind of give you an idea of what we offer, what the logistics look like, and then obviously answer questions. And then we can obviously, if interested, at some point down the line here, finalize a proposal for what it looks like to, procure those and what the system looks like. So the documents you have should kind of give an indication of what's already here that I go over, but obviously feel free to stop me for questions. And you can still hear me okay, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right. If you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and start with just sharing this so you can see this first page, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, so Nightscope actually had acquired case phones and emergency towers about 2.5 years ago. So it's based in the San Jose, California, San Francisco area, but we've been all over New York, like JFK, different government facilities, a lot of Veterans Affairs hospitals, municipalities. And so when they acquired it, it kind of became a real big part of our industry and business. But really, as a company, Nightscope was founded based on robotic technology, security. So we're at a couple of Veterans Affairs hospitals with the robots, but like a city in Ohio just adopted one of those. For today's call, we won't really go into that, but it just kind of gives you a little idea of the background behind Nightscope, and that they're really just been focused on being a public safety leader, and this happens to just be a really big part of that, where folks, if they're in an emergency, like especially at college campuses, they can use one of these three technologies here to the left, the call box, the blue light phone, and the tower. The tower, and specifically right here, is what I think the town is really looking at, that we can go into more to help, obviously, with communications, potential mass notification, and a speaker up here that I'll go over, but more than anything, just be a deterrent, and also be kind of a peace of mind that a lot of folks will put them on walking trails and, throughout college campuses, and many other different, examples that I can give. So that's kind of where I focus the most. But again, as a company, we're focused on security and public safety. So again, headquartered in Mountain View, that's actually slightly different actually in about a month, but it's in the same, San Francisco, San Jose area. Nightscope is the OEM, so we actually make and procure pretty much everything out of California. Obviously, there are some parts here and there to make it work with Verizon or AT&T to communicate, but ultimately everything is made and assembled there. And again, I can kind of touch on more of the logistics later on, but that's why you'll hear me say maybe 6 to 8 weeks for procurement time, just because we do make it and then we obviously ship it, everything within the United States. So we're definitely busy with that, and our production team is actually ramping up for that reason. 30 plus years experience, if you count cases experience. Nightscope's been around for about 12. Over 10,000 emergency phones. And as I mentioned with Verizon, we've done a lot with Verizon. I would say more with Verizon than anybody else. But we work with some of the big, energy management companies that will maybe use us on a smaller part of their project. Or we can work, of course, with AT&T for communication. So I know a lot of folks have Verizon or AT&T as the two top carriers. And so our devices communicate that way. You can do an old telephone line, but nobody's really doing that much anymore unless it's like old infrastructure on a building or a campus. So that's why I mentioned Verizon and the partnership. But again, AT&T perfectly can work fine as well, especially if you find out that with your team, there's better service or whatever the case may be. And then I'm not sure if you're familiar with Omnia, but Omnia is something that works. It's a group, basically a purchasing group that works well with the cities and the towns. And so those actually are very much, able to help kind of get a little bit of a discount or at least lock in pricing. So it saves on the bid process. Something that, your town may or may not utilize, but certainly something that we could either help with, or maybe something we can discuss down the line for this and other things. So before I go any further, any high-level questions to dive into?
No.
What's that?
No, not at this time.
Okay, appreciate it. The blue light phone to the left, just a kind of rough pricing range, that's about 4,000, give or take. Just to throw out kind of rough budget numbers. Obviously, we can do an exact quote to be specific, but that's going to have either you can have a 2-button or a 1-button option. Some folks like to have the camera option, that when the button is pushed for an emergency, the actual face will show up of someone. So for example, if someone is, pressing it and something's actually happening, or worst case, they're hitting it by mistake, this will alert that, and the camera will go on, and those images are saved in our system that we can discuss. But also some folks, especially like airports or parks, for example, they will have a second button for information. So if you have certain parks, like we're working right now with Matthews County out in Virginia, north of the Virginia Beach area, and they're putting some at all their different parks. And so that's a good example of it. At the very least, emergency button, but potentially, obviously, an information button as well. Not needed by any means, and probably not as common, but it is an option. And then the call box one, is this one right here under K1 call box. That one is typically something you'd see more on like ski resorts, a little bit more remote locations, like even national parks, like we do. But it is something that it would be a cost savings of just over about that 4,000 range that the blue phone was. It's not the all-in, capabilities like the tower, but certainly can help with just, kind of being an asset for someone who wants to just simply open that box up and call and make an emergency call during, crisis or whatever the case may be. The blue light tower, that's what has been discussed mostly so far with the town, and obviously what we can focus in on, but adjust accordingly. The lead time on those and the cost, of course, are the most, but you're getting the most with it. So, you have the 2-button option, the camera option, just like on the phone, but you have the signage that it's very clear and obvious. It can be solar powered, so you don't have to worry about certain trenching and communications that aren't going there. It's all really available in one shot. You have basically a cement foundation, like 3 feet by 3 feet, and this is something that can be installed really anywhere. So like your public works department could probably do it, or engineering, or we have partners who do installation too. But the solar power and the wireless piece make it really able to go anywhere as long as you do have some sun, and then obviously a cell phone connection, which occasionally we find like out in the Cape, we have a couple, Cape Cod, that are so far out there, that they maybe need a satellite for connection. Very rare, definitely a little bit more involved, but for the most part, everywhere we are, 95%, it's either Verizon or AT&T, and then they're solar powered. And that's pretty much what we've discussed so far. To kind of just touch on that briefly, right here just kind of gives you an example of installation. So if you have a couple buildings that, let's say, hey, you know what, we don't really have room, or we don't have the ability to do a tower right now, but we already have a building. For example, like some beaches that have chosen this option here, the actual blue phone, they'll actually do that. You can even do that solar power with a kit where you just run about 10 feet, not even of conduit. So this gives you an example of it's pretty manageable to install. And then the most common, I would say, for very rural areas and out and about and parks, etc., would be right here, the solar powered blue emergency with the foundation right here. Again, only about 3 feet deep. And most of the time, I find that public works folks can do it quite easily, and so that saves on time and labor a little bit. And then we provide obviously the product and the the commissioning and basically getting everything online. I'm not going to go into this too much because I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the town doesn't have any towers right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so like for example, this right here is just an example of a retrofit kit. It's really basically turning like an older, let's say 10 years ago, something was installed and it wasn't, night scope. We have a retrofit kit. So if you do find it, again, this is probably not very applicable. You have a few other products out there, or you're working with another town or a park or whatever the case may be. We do have a retrofit that's a couple $1,000s less than a whole blue phone. So now you're basically taking the parts and smarts right here of the tower and making it communicate with both our system, but also Verizon or AT&T if it was programmed to something different before. So this is something that a lot of couple airports and like a lot of colleges have done with us to, frankly, save time and money, but again, is not always applicable. Kind of keep it short and sweet. This part is pretty straightforward. It's a little bit more repetitive of the three pieces, but the biggest part is just keeping in mind that once you have about 6 hours a day, a couple days a week of really good sun, and it's not fully covered, you're going to have AC power, or you're going to have solar power, and both are going to have a battery backup. A lot of folks are worried, hey, what if the power goes out, or what if solar's not strong, especially in the wintertime. It really doesn't take much for these to have backup. And then obviously solar, you have the fact that you're not having to to tap into anything besides a solar energy source. And then lastly, again, wireless calling, so Verizon, AT&T, and then that very occasional situation that's a satellite option that we have that, again, is definitely more involved. But if you said, hey, I have a really remote location that is absolutely like, I have to have it there, we can look at that as an option if needed. And now, do you know if the town, off the top of your head, would be interested in like a mass notification? Or let's say there's a system that's already announcing certain things, and again, it might be too spread out to be applicable, but they would want to do mass notification off the top of your head?
I think we've discussed it.
We haven't discussed it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's something that we can obviously go into more down the road if you wanted to get into it. There's a lot of different systems out there. One in particular is Everbridge, but basically this is all the components. We don't need to obviously go into every little one unless you want me to, but basically, you have your blue light beacon that's fully protected by glass here. You have your signage, you have all your, communications and your smarts, should you will, right here in the center faceplate, like I discussed. And then either solar or AC power. And then if you do decide to do mass notification, and it's something that, let's say, as you're upgrading in the town and you're looking at different options, a mass notification speaker will go right up here. And we notice like a lot of colleges will do that, where they'll add that feature to the top, or even like some folks even will, with our partners, will actually add a camera, an actual camera mounted to the top here near the solar panel that'll actually fit. So I can send you some pictures of that after this if it's something applicable. But basically, in summary, the idea is if you're trying to increase safety, awareness, etc., you can kind of do a little bit of both, where you're not limited to just, hey, this is option 1, 2, 3, I'm done. You can always technically add a few other technologies to it that obviously take a little time and money, but it is an option. And then again, that faceplate camera, I'll show you an image of that right here. So that kind of gives you an idea. That's our engineer in the background in California. But that'll kind of give you a quick snapshot. It's not anything like really, really high-tech CCTV, right, where it's like live camera, always recording or anything like that, because I know we were working with a few towns in Massachusetts, actually, and they're very, protective of that, rightfully so, of the public, so they actually want it to be pretty basic. And so this is actually just what it would look like, right? You have two-way speaker communication, your help button, which is kind of the whole idea, the camera, image of those folks here, and then that would be saved in the system to, if you need to make a report for police and have images, or just simply, hey, what's going on? I need to know. Again, it's an upgrade, nothing too crazy, but it's something available to kind of make it more versatile. There's no license fees or anything like that with it. It's just simply an upgraded part. And then one thing that we can go over shortly on a few more slides is CHEMS. It's the Nightscope Emergency Management System, and that's where most of this is basically saved and just helps you show the health of the system. And so I can go over that, but that's, again, something that is not required. It's just a possibility. And so actually here it is, the next slide. So a lot of folks that we have, and something that I would usually present with a CHEMS professional, basically with the quote would be this system here that actually checks any live images. But the biggest thing that a lot of folks like for example, right here in Connecticut, Stanford Hospital, down in the Stanford, Connecticut area, they have about 8 of our phones, and they want to make sure that, hey, when they get a report, it's always showing that it's online, right? So like if it failed to check in, or if it has a low battery, or for some reason it's offline, you can go here and say, hey, this is the town, it's at this park, it's at this bike path, it's at this, XYZ, and basically get a real-time kind of update of, hey, this is what's going on. 29 of 30 are operational, and maybe 1 needs service required, right? And that can be, especially in the first year, it could be something that's under warranty, and most likely could be something as simple as a battery. the batteries usually will last at least 2 years. So sometimes there is just a little maintenance to follow with these, but again, nothing major that Public Works folks and, maintenance staff can handle. But this is the Chems Professional, which I can log in briefly and show you, or actually send you kind of a snapshot of, or we can even technically, depending on how we're doing on timing today, we can even just do like a training another day if you decided to proceed forward, so that way you get a better full idea of it. But basically this is something that a lot of folks like because it helps us diagnose what's going on with the phones if they're a little older and if there's an issue. And most of the time it's just simply, it's a monitoring system that's making sure that you're aware, hey, every morning at 4 a.m. Pacific, so 7 Eastern on our time, it sends you, hey, you know what, these 5 of 5 towers are online and good to go. As long as there's Verizon or AT&T connection, and then power, you're pretty much good to go and there should be no issues. If there is, then this kind of helps get to that point. Again, 1-year warranty. I'm not going to really drag on that too much because I want to open it up for questions and watch the time for you. But, Metrolink out in California, Dulles Airport, LAX, BWI, JFK. So many airports and many universities, just some that I recently checked right in Virginia, actually, like Country Club of Virginia, Richmond, and then the Matthews County Sheriff's Office. And we also have some of our phones at James Madison University too. So we've worked with a lot in Virginia in particular, but really throughout, the Northeast, Southeast, and, throughout the country. Like I said, I want to be delicate of your time, but definitely, open it up for any questions and kind of pick up where we maybe left off with, I know your Public Works Department seems pretty confident in it, and I know it's something that's been presented, but I don't know, how far, so certainly open to other meetings or answering questions, and then we can kind of go from there.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this presentation. Does anybody have any further discussions or?
Where is the nearest customer service rep if our Public Works people cannot fix the problem?
Sure. So the closest direct, so we have a contracting company that we work with that does a lot of our warranty work, and they literally have someone in almost, I believe it's like 47 of the 50 states. So it should be someone right in Virginia. I believe they're in the Richmond area. In terms of like corporate, Nightscope directly, who I would speak to and could call like right now, it would be John Heron Arena is his name, and he's based right in New York, but he can help over the phone and diagnose. He does it all the time for folks in Ohio, New York, really all over the Northeast and Virginia and the Carolinas.
I think you said it would be a 1-year warranty?
Correct.
All
Yep.
right. After the 1-year warranty, do we sign a contract? Is there a contract that we sign?
So you don't have to. I mean, some folks, if they feel confident in the team to maintain it, like for example, BWI, I'm working with someone there now, and they maintain everything themselves. And really, they just bought equipment from us. But I would say at least 50% of the time, maybe even 70% actually, at this point, the folks will do what they call a full service maintenance agreement. So for the second year and on, it's about $900 a year, but that covers everything. So anything happens, travel, parts, labor, literally the only thing it doesn't cover is major vandalism that folks would usually claim on insurance, or like a major storm flooding. But anything that's related to that actual product would be covered.
Would it cover time and material? That $900, would it cover time and material?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So how it would work is if you didn't do that and didn't sign it, and let's say there's a situation like we have this sometimes where, they maintain it, everything's good after a year, but something does happen at 18 months to 2 years, just even simply replacing a battery. the time and material can either be a separate quote from our folks, or if you do sign for that 1 year full service maintenance, that would pick up right when the warranty picks up, which is basically right after that first year mark of the product, then that would cover any time and material and everything in that year. Then obviously folks usually renew from there.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do you have any other questions? Who is your contact person here?
I reached out to Mr. Cross and referred him to Ms. Corbin, and he's been in contact with Ms. Corbin.
I knew you had mentioned that to us, so I think if we have any questions, we can certainly give them to Vice Mayor, and she can, because there's always questions after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always available via the phone or email, and I've been in touch with everybody. So so I appreciate that. And is it Mrs. Corbin that actually would be the best contact going forward?
Yes, I think you coordinated everything with her, am I correct?
Yeah, for the call and stuff, yes. And then the Public Works folks did reach out on a technical side for a few minutes, but that's basically how it's been.
Okay. She is our current interim town manager,
Okay.
so you can still reach out to her if need be. And then
Okay.
if anything needs to go any further or in any other direction, she will instruct you on what needs to be done.
Okay, perfect. And then I guess the only just question for the group before we take off, or before we part ways, is there a particular amount of, or I guess major initiative that's kind of, or call to action, should you will, that is causing the town to want to look at this? I mean, obviously a lot of folks are looking at these just for awareness nowadays, but is there certain reasons for it, or certain specific follow-up information that would be helpful?
I would like more public safety and having citizens the opportunity in the event that we have a park that is Crystal Springs. I would like to see one there in the event that something happens to someone's cell phone or they don't have service. They have another way to reach out for emergency services.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's typically what we see is, you know, they may have a cell phone, but during times of crisis, or if you forgot your phone that's not readily available, it's always good to have this. And there is, you know, there's stats out there that it does help reduce crime and increase awareness. So that makes sense.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Cross. I appreciate you doing the presentation.
No problem. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Recording stopped.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
All right. Well, I thought that was a neat presentation. And I guess we'll try to get some financial information from them. But I think we still have something up at Crystal Springs.
It's just very old.
Yeah. It's undergone a lot of vandalism.
Is there any thoughts on the number of towers that you'd like to see in the parks? I walk through Elizabeth Brown each morning, and there's nothing down there. I didn't know if you had thought about all of the parks, or if you had a number of towers.
When I reached out for initial proposals, we proposed 3. We
Okay.
looked at Elizabeth Brown, Withers,
Okay.
No Crystal Springs.
because we have one here. I hadn't.
Is it operable?
It is. It's just a very old. It's essentially a 6-inch PVC pipe, a hotspot. Make a phone call out of that one. Doesn't have the camera or anything like that. It could do.
I would like to, I know he mentioned that if you had one, you could do an upgrade, but I would like for that to have a camera on it, considering its location.
Yes.
So 5 then. Proposed maybe 5?
Yeah, four or five. If we were looking at one for every
Oh,
park.
that's right. So is that something you guys want to proceed, or we want to talk about it? I know it is a safety issue. I'd like to see us get them, but I don't know how staff feels about that, or Mr. Sheriff, what you...
I think it would just be figuring out what the cost is. We didn't have anything budgeted for this project this
Right.
year, so we need to figure out what the cost is associated.
I would like to proceed. We can always make a budget amendment. Even though it was not included in the budget, I've been asking for these for 2 years.
Or does this price compare to the other ones that you looked at?
This one is cheaper. I
Okay,
mean,
good.
This one is cheaper. I
Okay.
mean, what we're looking at, I believe with, now I got quoted total turnkey
Sure.
and everything like that compared to the other ones. Now, if our public works crew felt comfortable installing it, that would save on that.
Sure.
But I mean, it is much less than,
And the ones we're thinking about, just asking, is this one in the middle?
Yes.
That
I
has,
think so.
right?
The tower that has emergency on it and it has the camera as well.
Yeah.
he
Yes.
didn't really advise for the one with the actual phone, because
Right.
if you're in an emergency
Yeah,
situation.
that didn't help.
Yeah.
The K1 blue light tower.
But do we think, can we get some cost for, what, 2
I'm happy to look
units
into it,
and
or,
one
yeah,
up?
however you'd like me to proceed.
That'll be fine.
Do you want me to get a quote for them to install or for?
I think our Public Works,
I think that they can,
because they're coming out of Richmond, and he said it's just a set of pole for us, and apparently he's already spoken to Public,
Okay.
but I don't know what that conversation.
they do an amazing job anyway, so.
But this is one of those things that realize it's not in the budget, but it is a public safety issue, so we'd like to see us proceed if we could. Thank you for bringing that up and for him doing the presentation.
My pleasure.
You wanted to price 4 units, because it may differ in the cost and the number of units, I don't know. You want to give him direction on that, what you want?
Well, I think he asked for, said 3, and then we would like to add Crystal
And
Springs.
then we could get that modification kit. That's a pretty. Yeah.
Okay.
Modification kit.
So it's 3 plus a modification,
3
get your
plus
pricing,
that.
okay. Just want to make sure it was clear, what we knew what we were doing.
And do you think it's best to do a modification up there or do a new one, considering it doesn't have a, I mean, I'm sure the modification kit would include the camera, but
Yeah, because that one doesn't, it's not really set up like a regular pole, so it doesn't have the spacing for like a camera if you were going to add to. I don't know how you would add, more panels. to
I would
that.
like to replace it
I don't think.
altogether.
Yeah, it might be best to replace.
So
if
it's
you-
4 units.
Yes.
4.
We want the camera option, obviously. I just want to make sure.
Yes.
I think camera option.
Is that what?
I think that would be.
that
I
you
would
recommend?
The
Okay, yeah.
K1, yes, on all 4 K1.
Yeah. Very good.
Anybody have any more questions again for this? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is discussion regarding the sewer inflow and infiltration project. Director of Public Utilities and Emergency Billy Anderson.
We are coming up to, I want to say, the end of this project. We're getting close to the original scope funded work. We have a project meeting, project progress meeting next Tuesday. Currently, in 2022, I believe, we actually entered into an agreement with VRA for funding for this project to the tune of a total funding amount of $3,198,394. Of that, 75% is principal forgiveness. The other 25% is in the form of a loan, low interest loan. Up until, let's see, we have currently about 3 invoices that I've just submitted in. With these most current invoices coming out, VRA has kicked us a notification that we have remaining about $123,000 left in our loan availability, which is the low interest loan. and about $745,000 left in the matching DEQ, the grant that was funded through the program. This project was funded, basically was spearheaded through DEQ as a pilot project to try to combat inflow and infiltration and help reduce the flows that come into our wastewater treatment plant as far as treating actually sewage instead of treating groundwater. So with getting closer to the end of what the original project was scoped to undertake, DEQ's requesting to see if we would like to continue on as long as we use the funding for I&I progress and improvements. There is this amount of funding left in the budget. Currently to date, we've probably received about $2 million, about $2 million in reimbursements. So, like I said, we have received 6 reimbursements so far, total up just around $2 million. So back into our funds. I will know through discussion with the engineer next Tuesday after the progress meeting to try to identify some areas, either within this additional areas within this project scope area, which would be Pump Station 6, which is out by Mrs. Booker's property, or Pump Station 1, which is a huge collection area out by Chapman Road and Industry Road. We can focus on these 2 areas to try to continue to improve the drainage quality, try to reduce I&I in these 2 areas, or if there's areas that we have identified ourselves, we can also utilize this money to try to reduce inflow infiltration. I expect probably next week, after the meeting, I will try to have a little bit more of a cut list. So I guess necessarily tonight, I don't necessarily need any action, just to let you guys know that there is this amount of money left. Like I said, about $124,000 in the loan that we pay back, and about $750,000 left in the grant. So we do have some money that we can spend. DEQ highly suggests, being that this is a pilot project, Alan Cornett's basically posted the money out. He would like to see his matching grant spent if the town's willing to undertake the rest of the to utilize the rest of the loan money. I'm waiting on a response from the VRA loan agent. I would from talking with Angela, I don't think that basically we've contracted in with the loan. The loan's ours. I'm trying to see if there's any early penalty for if we send the remaining back in, but I haven't got any information yet. So I would assume that it's kind of ours to utilize as long as we utilize it within this some similar projects. It's ours to use. So
Billy, over the years, we've heard about the Booker's area always having trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the worst one of the 3 or 4 that you mentioned?
Well, the Booker, which is Pump Station 6, and then Pump Station 1, which is the one that collects a large area of the eastern portion of town, kind of centralized from 11th Street to the east towards the interstate. That pump station receives a lot of flow. That pump station has a couple drainage paths that parallel creeks. The same thing with Booker's. Booker's pump station has 3 collectors that run down in creek bottoms. Booker, how this program was originally assessed was based off run times at pump stations. The run times that the pumps have to run in conjunction to how many residents they serve, and those are the 2 highest flow rates. Our 3rd highest flow rate would be out here at the Children's Home off Grayson Turnpike. But the other 2 were primarily where we see the most issue, especially kind of focused on Booker's, was all of that transfers over top of the ridge at Walmart, comes down the drains and collects into basically the center portion of town. So that's just one of the main contributing trunk lines that come in here. That's why it was kind of chosen to be assessed first, that and Pump Station 1. There might be other areas If the town, if I can discuss with Michael Davis and some other staff, Tony, down at the wastewater treatment plant, if we could identify areas, additional areas ourselves, they don't necessarily have to be within the original project scope, but any work that's outside of that project scope, if we have to have any engineer's assessments, then it would be a change order. Same thing with Hurt Profit as the project engineer. And I guess if you will say money goes to design assessment a little bit more, and then we get less into the actual either cured in place pipe replacement or lateral replacements and the hard infrastructure replacements. So that's why I'm trying to focus on the areas that we already have some assessments on to minimize how much engineering time we have and maximize how much replacement time we have.
Is there a time frame that you have to spend the funds for this grant?
I
I just want to know, like, if you had time to do what you were gonna to do
Um,
extra projects with the money.
I do believe I had a discussion with Alan Cornell on the phone, and he understands, like, as far as I think we have a lot of time, allotted time, not a lot of time, but a lot of time to utilize the revenue. Again, this is a pilot project that DEQ, specifically Alan Cornett through DEQ, he took over through Mr. Williams, I believe, who was our rep in this area. And this is kind of his first kind of go for gusto program that he would like to see focus. He's primarily focused on Southwest Virginia. This area is kind of a desert when it comes to sewer I&I assistance. Most of it goes to bigger areas, and they want to focus down here. Hopefully this project will result in lower average run times on pump stations, lower average daily intake at the wastewater treatment plant. And if proven that does occur, then he's hoping to have this program again yearly, which we would basically apply for again. If the town was eligible, we could apply for it again. And we were selected out of a handful of applicants that put in for this first round of proposals. So we'd like to put in for it again, hopefully, if it comes around again.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
I have one more question. Can you repeat how much you said you had to spend?
The original VRA letter, which came in on July 11th, indicated that of the low interest loan at that time, the 11th, it was $192,749. The grant remaining was $955,171. Since this has came in, I have two invoices, one from Hurt and Profit for project inspection, and one from the actual contractor for actually conducting the work. Taking these two invoices out of the amount that the VRA says we have, the approximate adjusted amount would be about $123,000 in the loan and $746,000 in the grant. That's plus or minus a little bit because DEQ takes my disbursements and they proportion it out to how the calculation is. So, but those two numbers are reasonably close to what we would have at today's date. With the project meeting coming up next week, I do expect Morgan Contracting. They were completing some manhole rehab up until maybe a week and a half ago. So I do expect maybe one more small payout from them, but I still expect there to be probably in the ballpark total about $750,000 available in this project funding between the grant and the loan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Again, after next Tuesday, after the project meeting, the proposal meeting, I'll get some more information and then catch you guys at the next work session. Get on the schedule for that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank y'all.
Next on the agenda is review of a proposed ordinance to include property located at the corner of 5th and Lexington Streets, tax parcel 41A-1-129-8, into the housing rehabilitation zone. Assistant Town Manager, Renee Holton.
Thank you. First of all, I want to apologize. The materials that I prepared did not make it in your packet, so that was my bad. I do have some paper here, if you would entertain me and pass those around. The first piece of paper here is my staff report about this. Second piece of paper here is some photos and supporting information about the actual site that you will be considering tonight. The third piece of paper is a draft performance agreement. So should we decide to include this property in the rehab zone, this is the document style that would get recorded in the clerk of court's office. As part of this program, if we choose this particular site to participate in the program, the developer does have to provide the rents at the threshold that we state for 10 years. And that's why that document gets recorded. This is because it goes with the property. And then lastly, and I do apologize for all this paper, is the map. So the map would go with the ordinance that is in your packet. That is the only thing that made it in the packet was the draft ordinance. But the map would go with the ordinance. And right now we have 2 properties that are in the housing rehabilitation zone. So should you decide to approve this Lexington Street property tonight at this meeting, that property would be added to the map. So we show that. If you do not decide to approve this property for the housing rehab zone, then the map would just show the 2 properties that are currently in the zone. And there's a lot of paper here. If does anybody want the housing rehab zone program itself? This lives on the town website. It sort of lays out how people can apply for the zone, the sort of the background information about the zone, and it has all the stipulations. But I do have copies if anybody wants that. You would like one?
Please.
Let me go ahead and pass those around since we printed them. But
This
again, I
actually-
apologize.
This actually came about since I was here the last time,
Yes.
so I'm not familiar. Would you like more?
Absolutely.
I have one thing.
Okay. And then if you'll just pass them around, Kathy, in case anybody else wants one there. So essentially, what we did with this program was back when Blue Star was thinking about coming here, and they still might, but we decided to set up a incentive program to help incentivize housing. And unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of tools in our toolbox, but this was one program that we put together. It is enabled through the Code of Virginia for localities to do a housing rehabilitation zone. And essentially what we do is if they meet our criteria, then we waive the permitting fees for the development. So if you look at the staff report, I tried to break down sort of the nuts and bolts about what we are reviewing tonight. As part of the program, we do have a selection committee, and the selection committee did meet on July the 10th. And they did recommend to the town council that this project, the Lexington Street quadplex, be included in the housing rehabilitation zone. And Ms. Johnson did sit on that committee, so she can help us with any questions if you have any tonight. So essentially an overview of the project is the project seeks to construct 4 one-bedroom units, and the primary goal of the project is to provide housing for individuals with a history of substance use disorder, which is usually in connection with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The project will serve critically underserved populations by ensuring access to safe, affordable housing that promotes long-term self-sufficiency. And the developer is proposing that the rental rates for these one-bedroom apartments will be capped at 105% or less of the HUD fair market value, which for 2025 is $729.75. So if you, and you don't have to look at it right now, but if you look at the housing rehabilitation zone program, I believe that the threshold, the upper limit threshold for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,080. So they are well below what we would require for participation in the program. And the developer, that's part of their nonprofit. It's Open Door. That's part of their mission, is to provide affordable housing. Again, as part of our program requirements, we do say that they have to have a 3-unit minimum, and this also meets that criteria. The estimated construction cost is $500,000. And of course, I've got the tax map number. The site does have direct public street access and access to public water and public sewer. The zone district is R3 and multifamily use is allowed. Open Door Community would manage the site. They do currently manage other sites across Southwest Virginia, so I think they're well positioned to do that. The project is ready for construction, and they have actually pulled their building permit for it. So they're ready to go. And again, I passed around a copy of the draft performance agreement. Should you decide to include them, we would fill in the blanks on that performance agreement. We would sign it, Open Door would sign it, and it would get recorded. And just so you all know, the estimated value of the waived fees and permits is $13,936.
I have one question on that. When we waive fees, are we waiving the water and sewer hookups?
We
Or not, or is this
yes, we are waiving the connection fee, but they would have to pay for any materials.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to ask. Thank you very much.
So with that being said, should you decide, and if you're not ready to vote tonight, we can also postpone this to another meeting since I gave you these materials somewhat late. That's totally fine, but should you decide to move forward, what you would do is you would draft a motion to include the ordinance that is in your packet.
I think one of the concerns was that we wanted this to be workforce housing. We wanted people to have, one of the things that we brought to Mr. Stidham's attention is that we wanted it to be for people that work. And so that was just something I wanted to bring to the attention of council. And whether or not we waive the fees, they still have the right to build. Am I correct, Ms. Holton?
Correct.
So that's something that I wanted to clear the air on. Regardless as to whether or not we waive the fees, they can still build their complex.
I do have a question, Ms. Holton. It says not to scale here. I just want to make sure, double make sure that the measurements are correct on this one, like the setbacks and different things.
Yes, I did review the site plan.
Okay.
And it does meet our requirements for R3.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Our town comprehensive plan requires us to participate in affordable housing as well, or to participate in projects.
So yes, I don't have the comprehensive plan in front of me, but in the housing goals, it does state affordable housing is one of the goals in the comprehensive plan.
Which would justify why we should help to waive the fees just to participate in that affordable housing. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I mean, because we developed the program and we did not tie it to the comprehensive plan, there is no absolute requirement to link those two things. But I mean, it's always great to reference the comprehensive plan anytime we are making decisions.
Right. I would like to support it, and they are ready to start construction. They're ready to break grounds. I would hate to hold them up for any reason.
Mr. Hannon, Elaine, it says here that we are set up at a regular meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Wytheville, Virginia, held in the council chambers on Monday, August the 11th, for us to vote on it. Is that
In the ordinance.
Right.
in the ordinance?
So we can't,
Okay, all right, so we'll vote on it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's probably why
You can put
the,
it on the agenda if you'd
Right.
like. You're instructing to put it on the agenda for August 12th.
well, that would explain why the materials were not in your packet. That was my bad. I was thinking we were voting tonight. Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
So it sounds like you have some time to think about that, and I'm glad that you have the materials. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your committee doing a good job. So next on the agenda is to review a quote for boom Lyle tractor for the Public Works Department, Assistant Town Manager Elaine Holton.
Okay, so this came up at a previous meeting. The council requested that we review this, and essentially, staff was directed to get an updated quote. The quote, I believe, is in your packets, and so we can go to there and look at that together. And while we are looking at that, I will go ahead and pass around the booklet for the equipment. For those of you who have not seen the equipment, how it works is you have the primary piece of equipment, which is the vehicle on wheels, and then you can buy optional attachments to attach to it. So that's the neat part about looking at that. I believe that the boom flail attachment will come with this trackless vehicle as part of this quote. And essentially what it will do is it has an arm that can reach back behind guardrails and cut brush and things like that. So that has been identified as a need by Public Works. Okay, so when looking at the quote, you go to the bottom. We can either purchase a demo model for slightly less, or we can purchase a new model. The new model is $197,265,000, and the used model, which is the demo, is $152,713. So at this point, the council can decide what you would like to do, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Ms. Holton, did they say if there was any type of warranty with the used one?
Oh, boy. That I do not know,
Okay, that's fine.
but I can find out.
Do you know how many hours is on the used one?
I do not know that either.
I'd like to see if council can go ahead and look at getting this for Public Works, just because I believe that it was originally asked for in their budget, and I think it sort of covered 3 departments from my understanding. And from the best of my knowledge, and Ms. Holton can probably help me with this, I don't think they did get anything. I know that there was a meeting and they were going to try to I know that there was a meeting and some departments were going to try to cut their budget, to try to help with the budget. But for some reason, I do know this was like in the original plan. But for some reason, I don't know why it got cut or anything like that. But I'd like to see if we could do that for Public Works. Like I said, I think it will serve three different department areas from my understanding.
So what we're saying is it came with, or will come with, that big arm.
Correct. So if you look in your
Is
packet
there
on the very
anything
final
else?
page, you'll see the arm.
Right. Is there any other parts and pieces that come with it, or is it just that?
Just that attachment.
And what does our Public Works, what other attachments do they think that they need to be more proficient? If there is anything else, if that's what they're getting it for that.
Well, I don't want to speak for Public Works, but in speaking with the director, I think they would just be grateful to get the equipment without all of the attachments. The boom flail was one of the ones that they were most excited about, just because of the reduction in manpower, hours to have to weed eat behind the guardrails and things like that. But if you look in that book that I passed around, and you can also go to their website, they have snow pushing equipment, they have different types of mowers, they have a leaf vacuum attachment. So I think what Kevin's thought was that in future years, they could potentially, get attachments one-off here and there as needed, or as we can afford them. But they recognize that, with almost $200,000 invested in just this equipment, that's a pretty substantial lift for the town. And so I don't think they were requesting additional attachments. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
The Department of Transportation uses similar devices to this. Difficult to reach down in drainage wells along interstate corridors. You don't want to down there, or it.
dangerous?
It's too dangerous. Well, weeding doesn't get it. It's more brush. This will take down more woody vegetation, not just grass, but brush, saplings, and will prevent from having to get people down over steep slope bank down off the road course. We'll be able to basically do it from the sea along the road. We'll have a water truck behind it, probably a safety lights on, additional lights, road surface, manpower down over the banks.
So it sounds like it'd be mostly used seasonally. Sure, if they get other attachments in the future that, you know, they could use it, you know, in other tops of the.
This is, I won't say seasonally, but we have areas like, example, North 4th Street. We have steep banks over along the interstate corridor. Apparently, VDOT indicates that those are also ours to maintain. We're in mowing season, this grass mowing, off season. This is also, they can do brush removal, brush or vegetation control in the dead of winter when there's no weed matter on it. Basically, these basically reduce the vegetation down to basically they can do it terms of 3/4 of the year, frankly, spring, summer, fall.
And one of the areas that would they be able to get in the overgrowth in the creek that comes up in the summertime and all that down on 4th Street? And there where all the renovation was, and we can't clean the creek and we can't clean that other area because of the poison ivy and all that stuff. Would that be helpful for that as well?
In a place like
But if there's cattails, they can't, right? They can't do anything with cattails?
cattails indicates wetlands. You can't excavate in them.
Okay.
You can't do vegetation control in wetlands. Just excavate them. Hardcore digging. Using that boom flail, generally keep it out of that areas, and it's rod driven. I believe those have the flail portion drum there that rotates and has attachments to it, and it spins. Those flails stick out as it's brushing there. They generally keep them out of wet areas. They use them on the perimeter. Get in those areas where you down there trying to handle it.
Okay.
So obviously, this is a great piece of equipment. My issue is that we are in the budget less than 1 month, and we've already agreed to spend $16,000 on emergency poles for the parks tonight. That was not in the budget. And if we do this, we're going to go over $200,000 in the first month, and we just passed the budget. I don't think I can. I would like to see us buy this vehicle in the next year's budget, only because we still have 11 months to go, and we don't know what else we may need to pull in case of some emergency might come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask that we consider making sure this is in the budget next year, but mowing season is almost over, another 6 weeks. I mean, maybe 2 months. So by the time it gets here and gets started, it's going to be fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a little bit of concern about over the budget as much as we are if we choose both of these items tonight. We've already chosen one at approximately $16,000, which I think is very important. This is important as well, but it's a lot of money when we
Right,
just
and I completely understand that. I completely understand that. To me, I could understand if Public Works came to us later on, you know, and was just now asking for it, but it was in the original budget. And from my understanding, it was covering like 3 different departments. They were going to like pool their money. Is that right, Ms. Holton? They were going to like pool their money together. And
I don't recall hearing that. Okay. I do know that the previous interim town manager met with all of the departments and requested their CIP items and met with them and went through them and said, hey, what's absolutely needed this year? He was a very frugal, you know, as you know, he was putting together the budget in a very frugal sense. And so
Was
And
that,
being in
was-
the room, what I remembered hearing was that the Public Works Director said, we would love to have this, but we understand if we can't get it this year. And I think that's why the interim town manager removed it from what you all saw, the list that you all saw.
was that the same meeting that you had talked to some of the directors about?
We met with all
No, I
of
was
the
ta-
directors.
I'm sorry, I was talking to Mr. Ham. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I
No,
never
that's
had
okay.
any discussion about this tractor
Okay.
until you mentioned it to me, because it was not in any of the budget items that were given to me. That tractor was not in any of the documents because the last town manager took it out before it ever got to us. So it never made it in the budget. It just wasn't in there.
It was on the January paperwork. It was. I have it at
In
home.
January?
Yes.
Well, I never saw
At
it.
the very beginning stages of the budget,
Maybe
it
the
was
very beginning.
listed.
I agree, it was in the very early stages. However, it never materialized and went further. We didn't have it in any of the 3 readings of the budget
And I
at all.
don't even remember it being in there. Sorry, I just missed it, but I don't remember seeing it. But for me, it's just, I just don't see how we can make a choice to spend $215,000 tonight over the budget on these 2 items. So I would have to ask that we wait on it. for myself.
And I know that there were some, I think, directors had talked about maybe pulling some money to try to help save some money. So we'll wait just a second. I'll
Okay.
wait until Mr. Ham
Sure.
gets back, so.
Yeah, just, I
can
think
we-
that
let's
one.
wait.
Is
So he
it
can hear how-
215,000 or is it 197,000? What?
197.
And then a used one is $152,713.83.
I mean, and like I said, from my understanding, there was a meeting with a council person, with some directors that wanted to try to like help cut the budget. And I think that we had discussion that I wasn't willing to, I didn't want anybody to forego anything, in order to do without equipment for raises, because I know there were some raises, hey, if we could save some money here, that wasn't me, but if we could save some money here, we can work on, and that was not part of, doing away with their equipment.
Yeah, I don't think I was in that meeting when you were talking about personnel. I do know at some point the council requested from Mr. Moore the department request, and if you remember, those were the larger sheets that were green. That's probably where you saw it, because that was the very first department level CIP request, and then after that was when Mr. Moore he met with all of the department heads and sort of whittled that down, based on what he felt was absolutely needed for the town in this fiscal year. So that's what I remember about the budget process, but, everybody's memory's different.
But I can't remember, I know that there was a meeting held, and I'm not for sure the time frame on that.
Yeah.
He was in attendance.
Yeah. Do you know when that meeting was, Mr. Hand, when you had met with some department heads?
The only department heads, let's see, no, I don't know. But
No, that's fine. I just didn't know if you recall.
Sherry would know. I only met with Rosa Jude, and did meet.
Well, no, that's fine. I just
I'll let
didn't,
you know.
I didn't know,
I
I
don't
didn't know
have
about the time frame,
Oh,
because I just didn't want it to be, I didn't want some department heads to think they had to give up equipment in order for us to work on raises, because council was working diligently on raises then. I didn't want there to be like a confusion.
I don't think that was the case, but if you would like to invite the department head for Public Works to the next meeting,
No, ma'am, it's okay.
they could
It's
probably
okay.
clear that up.
I just would like to see it, because if, and I could be wrong, but I think this was going to help cover 3 departments, not just one department, from my understanding.
I'm sure that Public Utilities could use it, Public Works. I'm not sure if Parks and Recreation could use it at some point, but it is a really fantastic piece of equipment, I'm not going to lie. But I also think Mr. Hand's comments are also valid, with you just being in your budget year. So I think at this point, the council just needs to decide, and if somebody wants to make a motion, they can, and you can vote on it or not.
I would like to make a motion to look at getting the new trackless, depending on at least go ahead and look at that, but we might could get a better deal on the 152,713.82 model. I'd like to look possibly to see like the warranty that would be offered with that, with the used trackless one. I'd like to make that motion. Like I said, because before it was in the budget, and I know there were maybe some things, cutting, and I understand that. But I think it'd be a huge benefit for Public Works, Public Utilities, maybe the rec department. You know, so I believe there was 3 departments that it would touch bases on. And I'm not for sure if they actually can't say for what they did get, but I'd like to see this, if we could look at that.
Okay, that was a big motion, so we have a motion.
Sorry, could have made it smaller. Sorry.
Do we have a second?
Sorry. And I think Ms. Corvin said we wouldn't have to do a budget amendment now. We could wait and do it all later when we do all the budget amendments. We don't have to do one now, from my understanding. I mean, and I could be wrong, so.
I think you would have to appropriate the funds to spend the money, so that would be part of your motion tonight if it's approved, because it's not budgeted currently. But yes, the actual, if you remember, every year they do an end-of-year budget amendment, and so that can happen yet.
I think that's how she explained it, yes, ma'am.
Right.
So I'd like to make that motion, please, to go ahead and do, if we have to do appropriate funds or wait later on a budget amendment, for the total of $197,265, but also consider maybe looking at the used model to see what type of warranty. I would like to have some type of warranty, since it is that much of a piece of equipment, for the 152,713.83. I'd like to make that motion, please, if council would consider that.
So once again, we have a motion on the table. We have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I do have some questions. So why are we going with the higher cost one as opposed to?
The only reason why, Mayor Taylor, is because, say for instance, if the one for 152 doesn't have a warranty, you know, it could be at council's discretion. I just paying that much for a piece of equipment.
Would it not be fair to say, can we get all our information together and then vote on it? I mean, you're saying something you don't know.
Well, that's what I thought we would have that. But I'd at least like to, and then council can decide which one you would like. But I'd like to make that motion to go ahead and look into that. But I would like some type of warranty with it. I don't know what council's opinion is on that.
Is there any other questions, dialogue? I really would like to have all the information together before we vote. Hearing none, there'd be a roll call vote. Vice Mayor?
Johnson, aye.
Atkins, aye.
I'm going to say no because I want to get all the information together. No.
Excuse me, Mayor. That's a no.
And no, but it is very important that we get the tractor, and I certainly will support it in next budget.
I would too.
All right. So, that's over and done, but I'm open to getting all the information and bring it back a little bit later.
When would you like to bring it back?
But we do need all of the information, and then we can talk about it.
Would you like Ms. Holton to put that on like a time frame?
Well, let's wait till she gets back and.
I'd be happy to bring it to the next
Ms.
work
Holton,
session.
Ms. Holton.
Excuse me.
I apologize I didn't have the warranty information.
No.
Yeah, we'll
I
get
just,
that.
I'm sorry, just I just don't like to buy anything without a warranty, especially that much money.
It's very important,
It's very
yes.
important to have some type of warranty.
And I think you do need, so one of you asked for the hours on the used
Yeah.
equipment, you do need to know that.
So we
This
just,
should
Coming from a
really be a
farmer.
purchase from, the public works director should be making this purchase. He's the tractor expert. I'm not.
I'm not
So we
either.
need to have him say, I think it might be best if he says what he wants and let him do the research on that tractor. He's the tractor guy.
Mr. Hand,
We're not-
he did.
Okay,
He did, yes, he did. He did. He actually, from my
I would
understanding.
take whatever he says, 'cause
Yeah.
I would not.
Right,
know.
from my
So-
understanding, this is what, from my understanding, this was him. Is that right, Ms. Holton? Did he put this together?
The Public Works Department included it in the request, so I'm assuming the director was the one that put that in there.
Okay, I mean, I'm assuming, because I didn't pick this out, or, you know.
Right. No, we'd be happy to invite him back the next time that you talk about it, and he can help us digest some of these terms that's in the quote.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, real good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda is public work topics. So do we have anything, from anybody regarding that?
I talk about sidewalks, if I could, for just 1 minute. At one time, we had a sidewalk committee, and we actually walked all over town, and we would mark the places that had trip, that you could trip, and then we turn all that into the Public Works Department. So there's nothing like that really happening now, but we do have sidewalk issues throughout town. So we need to decide, what would be the best way to address some of these trip hazards. We don't have to decide right now, but we do need to be looking at those. We've done a lot of work on these sidewalks when I was here back the first time, and even since then, and we're actually in really good shape. But we do have a few problem spots that maybe we could talk about.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a
Outside of
spot
that,
I could
that's-
talk about.
Yeah, there's some little things around town where people could trip, so I will probably just give those addresses to Ms. Holton to give the Public Works. Would that be okay? Or to Mrs. Corrigan, whichever, so we can maybe start getting some of those.
Probably Miss Corbin, I think. Isn't that who we start directing stuff to, or no?
Well,
Is it?
don't know who.
I mean, I
did
can't
the
remember how we
Public
did that.
Works.
Yeah.
Not really sure who's,
Yeah, whoever.
but
I
either
didn't
way,
hear.
I'll get the information to where it needs to go.
I didn't hear what you
That's all I
said.
have.
I just was following up on Mr. Hand's question. I didn't know if we still sent stuff to Miss Corbin or if we sent stuff to Miss Holton, so,
Ms. Corbin is appropriate.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public work topics?
If I can get an update on the 300 block of West North Street down by the church.
It's on the schedule.
Okay.
I mean, he told us last, Billy said it was on, somebody told us that was on the schedule.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was like 2 weeks out, and the lady did inquire and asked, about where we were on that. I did see that it is marked, but I just didn't know when it was going to start.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other public works? Now we'll advance to council member time. Mr. Hand?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Nothing at this time.
I have nothing.
And I have nothing. I'm going to make it 5.
Nothing.
All right. Well, that comes to the end of our meeting. We do find a need to go into closed session. So if town council feels it to go into closed session pursuant to 2.2-3711A1, discussion regarding town manager position. Need a motion?
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, any opposed? All right, we are now going into closed session. Town council now feels it's necessary to come back into open session.
Madam Mayor, the council needs to certify that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session.
All right, so I need a motion, please.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second, is there any discussion? That'd be a roll call vote. Vice Mayor?
Johnson, aye.
Atkins, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Addison, aye.
And aye.
We're now in open session. Is there anything else to come to council this evening? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.